assume that you've never heard of Kakuto Chojin Back Alley Brutal before, and there's good reason for that, which I'll get to in just a minute. But I'm sure you're thinking, ooh, first-party fighting game. This has to be in the same vein as Virtua Fighters, Tekkens, and DOAs of the time, right? And you'd be somewhat correct. Dream Publishing, part of Dream Factory, had a fair amount of experience under their belts with arcade and console beat-em-ups and fighters, most notably Tobal 1 and 2, The Bouncer, and Urgeist. Yeah, the fighting game that's best known because it includes Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Fight.
Kakuto Chojin is a 3D hand-to-hand fighter, mixing a number of different fighting styles across a cast of 12 fighters. Like a lot of its contemporaries, some of the fighters fall into a few tropes. Here's the wrestler sporting a lot of animal prints, the busty American bombshell, Liu Kang in a Johnny Cage outfit, Middle Eastern Anderson Silva, someone who does capoeira, and a shameless Tyler Durden clone. I mean, come on, they aren't even trying. There was already a Fight Club game in the works for the Xbox at that time.
Fight.
The best part about the fighting is that the animations are not canned, or at least that's what the box art promises. Actual real-time responses to every jab, kick, and hit. Graphically, it does a pretty good job for the time, but the characters and some of their apparel do look a little shiny, almost plasticky. The manual also has a brief bio for each of the characters, which is nice, along with their moveset. And after completing the story mode with a character, you have the option to select an additional moveset, Kakuto or Chojin, but I really couldn't see much of a difference between the two. Story mode pits you in 10 matches with a conventional best of 3 wins to proceed, and unlimited continues. Pretty standard for most arcade-style fighting games. As far as why there's this tournament, there's zero information included, and even the manual lacks much in the way of framing. It gives me the vibe of wanting to be Mortal Kombat without being mystical enough to pull off Mortal Kombat. Except this final boss. I have no idea what's going on here and how she fits into the whole mythos. Oh, and she's unlockable if you beat the game with all 12 fighters. Survival mode plays almost like a beat-em-up with you and 3 opponents, constantly cycling in additional foes as you defeat them. Basically, defeat as many as you can with breaks at every 10 eliminations to replenish your health, and it becomes an exercise in crowd control. But it's actually kind of fun. The important thing is to not get surrounded, since enemies will capitalize on moments where you can't react. They skipped the online multiplayer for this one, but couch multiplayer includes local 2 to 4 person fighting, which is a pretty good idea and something unique that this style of fighting game hasn't traditionally offered. As far as why you haven't heard much about this game, Kakuto Chojin was pulled from store shelves a few months after its release, as it was identified that background music associated to the cover fighter, Assad, included Islamic chants that had been pulled from the Quran, and its inclusion in the game was a significant insult to the religion. This, along with a formal protest from Saudi Arabian government for the same reasons, and Microsoft was left with no choice but to pull the game. It's said that they even destroyed the unsold copies with plans to re-release it, having corrected the mistake, but I haven't found any evidence that a second version was ever released. While the final package is pretty basic, if you're really into fighting games, especially ones like Virtua Fighter, Kakuto Chojin Back Alley Brutal might scratch the itch for you, but it lacks much in the way of features, although survival mode might be the best single-player offering it has. Because it was swept under the rug, I'd say there's zero chance of this ever becoming backwards compatible. So this is one of those exclusives I see never living beyond its entry on the first Xbox. If you're a collector, this disc does include demos for NFL Fever, Shenmue 2, and Quantum Redshift, along with a number of trailers for other Microsoft game studios. So for the $10 to $15 price tag this game fetches in 2020, it's probably worth it. And with the potential that copies are scarce given the controversy surrounding it, who knows what will happen to its value down the road. If you enjoyed this review, be sure you're subscribed so you know when the next one drops, and hit that like button. It really helps YouTube know. It'd be a great one to share with other Xbox fans. I'm always intrigued to hear about the games that people love for the system, so you really should leave me a comment about one of your favorite Xbox titles. Maybe someday we'll get around to a briefing all about that one too. That should about do it for today for Xboxer Briefs. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.